Hey there, this is Brian from the GuitarFactoryOC.com, and today is your first guitar lesson. If you've never touched this instrument before, this is going to be a great starting point to get you going. This is the lesson I give to all my students that come into me for day number one when they've never played guitar before. I'm going to give you a little bit about the anatomy, proper holding and playing techniques, a little bit about how you can play your first ever chord, and you're going to get your first little song to play on day one here. So make sure you wait all the way to the end so I can give you that first song to play around the house to show everybody how good you're doing. Let's get into your first guitar lesson. Similar to all my other lessons, I've included below in the link a free PDF download cheat sheet that reviews everything we talked about today. So you can click that link below and get your free PDF cheat sheet to be able to print out to remind you of some of the things we did. All right, we're going to start with a really important beginning, which is the anatomy of the guitar. Why that's important is when you take instruction from people, they might refer to parts of the guitar to put your hands on or to move towards. And if you don't know the name of it, it can make it kind of difficult. So let's go through the brief anatomy of the guitar. Let's start with the most basic, the biggest area here. This is called the body of the guitar. The body has curves that lay on your leg like that to make it comfortable. And as we go up the body of the guitar, where the strings come out here, this is called the bridge of the guitar. Whether it's electric or acoustic, this is always referred to as the bridge. As the bridge comes up, we're going to get towards the middle here. This is called your sound hole. In acoustics, this is here to be able to produce the sounds coming out. With electrics, we don't have a sound hole. We have these magnetic strips that go below it called pickups. Those go below the strings to make it electrified. Okay, going up towards the top here, this is called the neck of the guitar. And on top of the neck of the guitar, this flat piece of wood is called the fretboard, where your fingers go to play the notes. On top of the fretboard, these metal wires right here are called frets, and we play in between the frets to cause that pitch or sound on the guitar. As we go up to the top of the guitar here, there's a kind of ivory looking piece that goes across the top, saddling in the strings. This is called the nut of the guitar. And then on top of that, we have what's called the headstock. And on each side of the headstock, these are your tuners, where you're going to be able to tighten or loosen the strings to make it in tune. They will be going into these tuning pegs, the strings, that will wind and hold to be able to make that tension to make the guitar have its sound. All right, some proper holding techniques. When we first get the guitar, we have, again, this little curve that goes underneath it, and it's on electrics or acoustic, and that curve sits right on your leg. And when you're right-handed, the right leg is really your best for comfort here, because the neck then will be right here in your left hand's range to be able to play. When you put it on the other leg, kind of puts the neck out further, it can get a little uncomfortable. So what you're seeing right here is a really good, proper guitar playing position. Also, what's really important is posture. You can see the guitar is standing straight up. It's not tilted back this way or tilted forward. I have it sitting nice and balanced, going straight across, while my body also stands with good posture as well. My right arm kind of balances right here to be able to play over the sound hole, and my left hand is ready to be able to play notes on the fretboard on the top here. My thumb is generally positioned on the very middle of the neck here, right behind the middle of the neck, so that I can have maximum leverage to be able to hit all the notes on the fretboard like that. Now also, we use a pick. There is fingerstyle playing, which you can eventually get into, but when you're starting guitar, generally we start with these picks, and it's a triangular looking object here, and the way that we want to hold that properly is the pointy spot. Pointy part is going to be the thing hitting the strings. So you could see I'm using my pointer and thumb, not middle, ring, or pinky, so that when I play, you can almost see my fingers fanning out, and that pick is held like this, where the point is straight down, and I'll be able to strum straight down as well like that. Be careful to get any habit of adding extra fingers to hold it or holding it with the wrong fingers like that, but a good position is going to get you to be able to play with more accuracy. All right, again, with taking instruction, we have to know string names, because I or someone else may refer you to a particular string to play, and if you don't know the name of that string, it's hard to be able to reference that really quick. So the names of the strings, here's what we're going to look at. I'm going to say them out, but then I'm going to give you a little bit of an acronym or a funny saying to remember what they are in that order every time you go to them. So going from the top to the bottom, the thickest to the thin, the thickest one you see here is called the E, or they call that sometimes the low E. Low not meaning to height, you know, it's more into tone, lower tone or pitch, like low voice. High pitch would be the higher strings. So a lot of times we think it's in referring to like the direction, it's more referred to in sound. So this is called the low E. Next down the line here is the A. After that is the D. Then we have the G, the B, and then another E, and this one we refer to again as the high E. High E and then low E. Like I said, it's more in reference to pitch as opposed to height. You can hear it's a higher pitch, lower pitch, higher pitch, lower pitch. Okay, so when you tune your guitar, you're also going to need to know the names of these, because tuners will give you the name of that string to make sure it hits that green or center light to know that you're in tune. And if you don't have a tuner, you can download a lot of free apps to be able to do that right on your phone to get into tune. But those tuners will be showing you the name like A as you strike the A string, and you'll need to know exactly where you are with that. Now, the silly saying that I've always used to remember the name of my strings is, elephants and donkeys grow big ears. Elephants and donkeys grow big ears, referring to E, elephants, A, and, D, donkeys, G, grow, B, big, E, ears. Elephants and donkeys grow big ears. There's a lot of funny acronyms out there that you can look up that you can maybe use instead of that, but that one has always stuck for me the first time I started playing guitar, and I share that with all my students as well. So practice that a little bit to be able to know what your string names are really quickly, so that when you watch an instructional video and they say, put your finger on the A string or pluck the A string, you know exactly what they mean instead of trying to kind of zoom in and see it. All right, once you're holding your guitar in your right position, you got your pick in your hand, you know your string names, the first thing we want to do is start getting some sounds out of the guitar. We're not going to use our left hand at all on this right now, just our right hand to get an idea of what it feels like to play and pluck strings with some good technique. So let's do the low E, and what you're going to do, you can see my fingers are kind of fanned out here, is you're going to give a nice pick down right on that low E string to make it ring. And it's okay if your pick actually rests on the A string after you've hit it. It's a lot better technique than doing like this and shooting out to where it flies and snaps. We just want to get a nice clean down pick there. And then go to each string down the line. And maybe test yourself knowing the names E, A, D, G, B, E. Then maybe go for what's the G? And then what's the A? And just kind of get a feel for playing those again with a nice finesse down pick, not a snappy pick away from the guitar approach to it like that. And now we're getting some sounds from that right hand. Okay, what we're gonna do now is we wanna try to get some sounds using our right and left hand. And with guitar, we use chords and single notes. When you watch guitar players, you see sometimes they're doing this strumming of these shapes down here and getting the sound while they're singing. Very popular style when you're singing and playing is to strum chords. Sometimes you're playing individual notes to get a lead melody. Those are one at a time as I played that. So the thing is, with playing guitar, you want to be able to practice both of those depending on what the song is with it. I'm going to start you out with strumming your first chord and how to read a chord diagram. Hey, can you do me a favor and drop me a comment below? Tell me why you're starting to play guitar. What inspired you to take your first guitar lesson with me? Love to hear from you. We're going to play a chord, but first we have to be able to learn how to read a chord diagram. Sure, you can watch my fingers and instructional videos, fingers on the fretboard, but also sometimes when you look up sheet music, you might actually look at these chord diagrams. So this is what it looks like right here. And a chord diagram is a little picture of the fretboard kind of standing like this. You can kind of see it going. That comparison is these top frets here. See that dark line on the diagram? That is the nut. and then all the other lines going that way are the frets. The lines going this way are your strings. Okay, so you can see it's going right across. It's a little picture of your fretboard. And on that picture of your fretboard are circles, and those stand for your fingers. Sometimes there's numbers on those circles, and those are your finger numbers. This is 1, 2, 3, and 4. We don't count the thumb as a number because that's on the back of the neck where we don't play. So those finger numbers there tell you exactly how to play the particular chord you're doing. So this very first chord you see here, we're going to practice, it's going to be the E minor chord. And the E minor chord is just a nice, easy one to start you out with to hear some sounds on the guitar. So what we're going to do is, you could see there's 2 circles on the A string and the D string. All right, and they're both on the 2nd fret, and we call this box here the 2nd fret. We don't play on the wires, we play between those fret wires. So you're playing on the 2nd fret, and you have your 2 fingers planted right there, and you'll see that with those 2 fingers, all the other strings around it have no fingers on them, so they want to be picked as open. So when I strum that E minor chord with my middle finger and ring finger on the A and the D string 2nd fret, I take my pick and I'm going to glide, turn that back on, sorry, glide right down those strings. Remember, I'm not strumming real hard in a way, I'm just kind of gliding down there. Now, a great practice when you're first learning to pick a chord is to strum it and then take a slow walk through of it like this. And make sure everything's ringing. That is so helpful, because if you find that and something's not ringing, you could fix it, and that muscle memory of you fixing it gets you accurate more times you go back to that chord. So that's the sound of an E minor chord. That gets you going to a lot of songs. All right, if you think you got that, let's try another chord, okay? Here is another chord diagram of a very popular chord called the C chord. Okay, now this one here has 3 fingers instead of 2 like the E minor, but let's just follow the diagram and put our ring finger on the 3rd fret of the A string, our middle finger on the 2nd fret of the D. We're going to leave the G open, which can be a little tricky with your fingers because you have to really make sure you arch them and not touch that G. And as you can see, the pointer finger is on the B string 1st fret, and there's an X over the low E string. What that X tells us is that we don't want to strike that string. We're going to only play from the A string down for this particular chord. So here's the sound of a C chord. And like I said, always give it a shot to go, is everything ringing? If you find yourself going, and you get something muted in there, just do a little check on them, roll your fingers over, make sure you have good fingertips. We don't use the flat part of our fingers, we use the very tippity top of our fingers, and our thumb is in the back of the neck to make good leverage there. And there's your C chord using that chord diagram. I want to show you how to play a single string melody song that you're going to find very familiar. And let me play it for you first, see if you recognize it, and then I'll show you exactly how to play it. Sunshine of Your Love by The Cream. Great one to start out as guitar. So let me zoom in on my hands and let you see exactly what's going on and explain to you how most teachers online would explain how to play these as well. So we want to get up to the D string 12th fret. So if you counted all your boxes along here, these frets, 12 usually has the double dot on your guitar. So D string 12th fret, and we're going to use our ring finger. And what I want you to do is try to pick that 2 times. So you have 2 times of the 12. And then I want you to go to the 10 on that same D string with your pointer. And then come back to that 12 on the D you're already at. So you have this so far. Begin to hear it already. Now, you see how I was kind of lifting my fingers off? It's kind of a lot of extra work to do that. When you play a 10 and 12, when you hold both of them down, you will not hear the 10 at all because the 12 is higher. So you can't hear that my finger's on or off there. So why not keep it down so when you lift it off, it's ready to go like that. Now, let's hop over to the A string. 12th fret with our ring, then the 11, and then the 10. Okay, so those are all in a row, 12, 11, 10 on the A string. And then we're going to wrap it up with the 10 on the low E, and then the 8th fret of the A, and then come back to the 10th fret of the low E. And that is Sunshine of Your Love. All together a little quicker. So many guitar players at first start learn stuff like that and they see the frets and everything and they try to do it all with one finger. I'll tell you, that is so much harder to try to search with one finger and do all that dancing around, as opposed to, like I was showing you with the 10 and 12, keeping things using multiple fingers is actually less work. So have that as your first little lick to play around the house. People are going to recognize that and be blown away that you're playing that already. Hey, also check out my video that I made that's called 5 Mistakes Most Beginners Make. That's a great one as you're starting to learn guitar. The link's in the description below. Okay, if you're ready to take your guitar playing further than this, go check out theguitarfactoryoc.com. I've created a 4-level course to take you from the very beginning like this all the way up to playing your favorite songs and having a much better understanding of this guitar. And I've done it in the way that makes it feel like you're doing private one-on-one lessons with me. So go in the description below, click that link, and you can get access to a free quick start course today.